Moratorium itself, yes, it has. NBFC has been one of the institution which has been sandwiched as a regulatory guideline. We don't accept deposit, neither we create a money like a bank. So both and we rely in India. Most of the funding to the institutions or NBFCs has been happening from banking sector. So with a view of or the sectoral view turning not so rosy, the funds availability for the NBFCs has been on a decline since IL&FS days, and on top of that, moratorium comes, which in a way, when it comes to a retail customer, you have a very limited way of declining a moratorium. But at the same time, it was not. It was left to the institutions, and I think most of the institutions had been hard pressed because the lenders have not been as kind as the NBFCs has been to its customers. So on a retail side, you have a limited way, but at the same time, on an institutional side, you have a relationships and all to take care of, and so so it's more like a sandwich. So it remained one of the toughest time as far as the moratorium handling is concerned.
I would broadly agree with Satyam. I think initially there was a lot of uncertainty around how the moratorium would play out, rules of the game, NBFCs versus banks. And I think there are definitely green shoots coming up, right? I think there are specific cities, sectors, customer profile types, product types that are actually starting to see a revival, or in some cases actually doing even better than pre-COVID. And within our own portfolio, we see all three, right? We see segments and products where growth is slow. We see those where things are kind of getting back to normal, and we see those which are actually performing far better than before, aided by some of the forces of COVID. We kind of sharpened our focus almost a year ago, right? This is prior to COVID ever happening, and this was in response to the broader slowdown in the economy. So I think we took a view that the cyclical downturn that got kicked off post IL&FS was starting to disproportionately affect certain sectors, and certain other sectors were actually showing resilience. And so we actually took a call based on kind of risk-adjusted returns and profitability on which sectors we think we should double down on and which ones we shouldn't, right? At the same time, I think there were certainly sectors that we decided to double down on, which in retrospect have been big wins, right? So I'll give you one example of that, two examples actually. So one has actually been e-commerce. So we have already been financing e-commerce for a while, both on the seller and the consumer side, but we really decided to double down on that last year. And in all of the last few months, and particularly post-COVID, I think we've seen a massive surge in e-commerce sales, a large number of customers substituting to online retail, and correspondingly huge increase in demand for instant credit at the point of checkout as well. So that's been I think a very interesting bet that has paid off. I think a second bet that we made was around kind of focusing. I think if I look at our cities today, the cities that have the lowest percentage of loan book under moratorium and the highest repayment rates are actually smaller cities, right? Like a Vijayawada or a Tirupur or many of these. So I think those are kind of two interesting examples of focus-oriented bets we made that at least so far seem to be playing out quite well.
Acquisition has become much cheaper because the players are a little less aggressive in the current ecosystem. So acquisition cost-wise, things are turning to the advantage of the players who are currently in the market or who currently want to build in the environment. The segmental, we didn't have a challenge. Tracking or reaching a customer, we didn't have a challenge, which ended up in the moratorium figure being half of the industry leader. So our moratorium figure on the salaried side remained at about 15% under Morat 1 and 13% in Morat 2. And on the MSME side, our moratorium figure remained at 26% in Morat 1 and about 20% or 22% in the Morat 2. So that way, on a blended basis, we remained in the zone of about 16% in the first phase, 17% in the first phase, and 14% in the second phase as far as the moratorium is concerned, because we reached out to 100% of the customer. We do not see a significant shift in the credit losses. However, we still have been providing for 100 bips extra. So we typically have seen a credit loss of 1.2% to 1.23%.
Q1 is generally a bit of a lean season for debt raising because you raise a lot in Q4. And in this case, I think in Q1, we've raised more debt than we've raised in last year at the same time. So from that perspective, I think actually liquidity has been quite forthcoming. I think there are, as Satya mentioned, there are obviously a whole lot of kind of pushes from the government to release further liquidity in the system, which has helped. From a delinquency perspective, again, I think collections efficiencies have been fairly good. In the last couple of months, we've been sort of getting to about 85-90% on a lot of products, and on at least on the consumer side, it's actually close to 100% collections efficiency. So from that perspective, again, I think we've been seeing the numbers are holding up. Our loss rates sort of remained around the 2% sort of level, which is pretty good. So I think we are being conservative and ensuring that we kind of take adequate provisions.
So on a peak load management, you have some money which is available on a quick disposal from certain lenders, and you pay a premium there. So from those lenders, the prices has not come down because that comes more like a waterfall structure. From the banks, it goes to those NBFCs, and from those NBFC it comes to us. But wherever there is a direct to access, those bank rates has come down by 200 bips.
We've seen this time and time again. So I think having a balance sheet, having cash, having the ability to underwrite loans, irrespective of kind of what the rest of the market is thinking from a liquidity perspective, I think is going to be a huge differentiator between those who are kind of able to thrive at a time like this and those who aren't. I think also those who essentially are building a book and have essentially recurring income are also in a much better position than those who are pure platforms and are earning on origination, right? Because obviously those revenue streams have dried up a lot faster right now. So I think overall, there will definitely, I think, be a survivorship bias towards larger, kind of more full stack balance sheet players. I think there are a variety of sectors where cash flows are returning to fairly decent levels, whether it's agri, pharma, sort of manpower services, certain aspects of retail, FMCG, etc. Right? I think there's actually a whole host of sectors that we've kind of ranked as being high potential, high promise sectors, even now during the depths of COVID. And similarly, I think there are also geographies that are doing particularly well and lifting up all sectors and industries that are within that. I think equally on the consumer side, I think definitely there is, there's been a fairly good bounce back.
Plus, there is a specific segment which has changed itself from physical only model to considerable digital model, which is electric vehicles is a segment which picked up our fancy, and we have been building our leadership there. So we have been funding electric two-wheelers for some time, for last 2 years. So these are the two things which we have been supporting, and then we built lots of partnerships around Kirana Credit. That's a product which we provide for 15 days to the grocery store or provision store owners and to buy on B2B platforms or the places where they buy and for the retail sales. So that's a short-term money for a quick rotation. So we have been doing more of a partnership business in the last 4 months. So the demand in a consumer side comes from 4 segments. I'm talking of more of a large ticket personal loan kind of a segment, and they are not like a consumer finance segment. One is medical situations. Second is home improvement, where people take money to do lots of changes. In the home, living rooms, and all kind of stuff. And then they take for holidays. And then fourth is debt consolidation in itself. So debt consolidation and the holiday will remain under pause mode for some time. As far as the home improvement is concerned, the moment lockdown ended, the pickup has started there automatically. And because people have been spending more time at home, so they have been doing lots of furnishings, work from home stuffs. That's what they have been picking up. So that segment picked up quickly. Medical will also pick up the moment the COVID load comes down, because people have been avoiding going to hospital. So 60% of the demand will come back immediately, and certain pent-up demand is also there. And the remaining 40% of the demand, so it's about 2.5 lakh crore is the market, annual market for personal loan. Out of this 2.5 lakh crore, about 1.5 lakh crore is very much there for the current financial year. 1 lakh crore is the one where the demand will take some more time to come back.